When this movie began with the song Yellow by Coldplay and accompanied the intro, I knew that this was more than just a special kind of movie. What is up, everybody? Random Random Man here. Now, I usually don't shoot movie reviews so close to one another, but I thought that this was a rare exception, as I finally got to see a movie that I've been wanting to see for quite a while. And I actually attempted to go see this movie last month with my dad, and we had to drive about an hour away from home to see it. But due to unfortunate circumstances, we saw Lucy instead, for which I have a link to my review in the description. But now, and ever so recently, this movie was showing in a theater 15 minutes away from us, so we couldn't resist. As without further ado, here is my review for Boyhood, which stars Eller Coltrane, Patricia Arquette, Richard Linklater, and Ethan Hawke, and is directed by Richard Linklater. Now the plot, or I should really say premise for this movie, follows a boy named Mason, played by Eller Coltrane, as he faces the ups and downs of what it means to grow up. Now the hype surrounding this movie has been ridiculous, as critics and audiences have been giving it near unanimous praise, as they have been loving this movie, and had me curious if I should believe the hype, as the director of this movie has made one of my all-time favorite films, School of Rock. And I was also interested in the behind-the-scenes aspect of this movie, as it was filmed for 12 years from summer of 2002 to summer of 2013, with the same principal cast, and had me intrigued in what filmmaking techniques were used here. But do I have to agree with what everyone else has been saying? Let's run down the whole thing. In terms of the performances, they are nothing short of phenomenal, as Eller Coltrane plays our main character Mason with such a natural ability. But to be fair, his acting early on in the movie is spotty, considering that he was just a young boy when this movie started out. But as he gets older and subsequently the movie progresses, you see him slowly melt into his character with more and more passion, as it shows how a person's acting ability can improve in such a short period of time, but also see a character grow up right before your very eyes into an adult, something we rarely get to see in cinema today. The same can be said for the rest of the cast, as this movie should have been called Family instead of Boyhood at times, as it is not just about Mason, more or less it is about his family as well, as Richard Linklater, yes, this film's director's daughter, plays Mason's older sister, and like Coltrane's acting, it does take a while for her to fully be immersed into her character, as she was quite annoying as the movie began. But like Mason, we get to see her grow up into a young woman as she makes a bunch of decisions along the way, and see how she changes in her own appearance. And this also, as well, goes for Patricia Arquette and Ethan Hawke, as they play the kids' divorced parents, and they are just trying their hardest to provide the best life possible for their kids, even though they aren't together. And we see how much life takes a toll on these characters, and how they change in their appearance and all of the decisions they make. There were also many supporting characters in this movie, whether or not they showed up for long periods of time or short periods of time, in and out of the movie. They added a sense of weight to how realistic this movie looks once again, as this is a portrayal of a family and all the characters they interact with as well. And it makes the movie such a wonder to watch, and how spellbinding each new chapter of the characters' lives are. And overall, I would just have to say, this cast is one of the most well-crafted casts I've seen in any movie. Now, the plot may seem like nothing to many, especially considering that nothing too drastic or elaborate happens here, as it is about a boy and his family and what they are going through in their lives over the course of a decade. And that may seem boring to many, but frankly, I was never bored with this movie, especially considering it's a long one at 2 hours and 45 minutes, which oddly enough is the same running time as a certain blockbuster that came out earlier this year. But the difference here is, once again, I was never bored, and I was immersed with these characters all the way through. In fact, my dad said he could have watched these characters all day, as they were that intriguing of a group in order to watch for almost 3 hours. And that is a testament to how well written this movie was by director Richard Linklater. Speaking of the writing, the transitions through time here are very clever, and while they are subtle, you can tell what year these characters are currently living in from either the objects that they are using to fit in with the time, or the copious amount of pop culture references to movies such as The Dark Knight, or even musical artists such as Lady Gaga. And that is a very pleasant surprise to see, as it shows how much attention to detail the filmmakers were putting in while making this movie to show that, yes, we are moving through time. Yes, these characters are living through these events. And it shows how far we have come to recollect what has been done in the past decade to show how a family can be like this in the modern day or in a certain year that they were living in. Even little things like the fact that Mason at a young age was into Harry Potter like I was and still am shows that this is a very relatable movie to many on a certain level, as it shows why the filmmakers took this long to make a movie like this and how us as a society can succumb to change and why we like to relive memories, to cherish all that we have. And that is such a great message. This movie really is one of a kind, as it shows how talented of a filmmaker Richard Linklater is to take a long time with a movie like this, yet still be able to make other films such as School of Rock, Before Sunset, which was the sequel to Before Sunrise, and a sequel to both movies, Before Midnight, and Bernie, all during this time period while making a phenomenal movie. My final thoughts on Boyhood are that I can't say I disagree with what everyone else has been saying, as I can go on and on about this masterfully crafted film, and I really do think it's in a league of its own. From the writing, performances, and all-around brisk feel of this movie, this is a movie that when it comes time for award season, it will show what meaningful movies are made of and will get nominations across the board. Sure, this movie may seem odd in its concept, but it is as interesting when you look at the behind-the-scenes aspects even after or before you see this movie. I really do think that this is one of the best movies of the year and is probably my favorite of this year. And when it comes to my final rating, I rate movies with a final verdict that is reminiscent of what I currently feel about the movie. And what I currently feel about this film is that this is a masterpiece. My final verdict for Boyhood is my first ever 5 out of 5 star rating. Thank you all, as always, for watching. Be sure to like this video, comment on what you thought of Boyhood, subscribe to my channel for more, and I'll catch you on the next movie review.